Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of the Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Western North Carolina fishing report with Dale Collins of Tuckaseegee Fly Shop. How you doing, Dale?
Doing good, Marvin. Just getting finished with the day, and I'm going to have a nice, neat bourbon this evening to sit by the fireplace on a chilly November night. It's November. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. You know, the good news is you didn't tell me you got the arc completed in time before you guys got washed away.
That's right, man. Fortunately, that storm was in and out. It was like a big bowling ball just going through the southeast, and those poor folks in the Gulf, man, they are just bruised and battered from all these storms. But they always seem to manage to come right through Western North Carolina. So we had two storms there in the month of October that were pretty serious, and I guess gave us about a foot of rain over the course of the two storms. But you know, the rain comes and goes, and the trees are they're going dormant. So some of these creeks are slower than others to rebound. But you know, it's pretty typical for October. And then it's dry in between. So
yeah,
you know, it's
yeah. And so I mean, I would guess kind of coming out the other side of that, you know, you start at the top of the mountain and you work your way down. So I'd imagine your streams in the park are in pretty good shape, but the Tuck's probably a bit of a mess.
Yeah, you know, it's the volume of water on the Tuck that's the problem right now. You got Duke Energy still doing some stuff there with their lakes. The color on the Tuck is fine. I mean, we're floating and we're finding fish. But yeah, the creeks are where you want to be for wading opportunities for sure. And you know, it's you know, a good time to kind of discover maybe a new stream for you on the fly fishing trail or the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. There's just so much water. It's good to challenge yourself to find a new spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess then the name of the game is probably what, nymphs and small streamers?
Yeah, you know, in these warmer days, like I saw, you know, we're kind of going to rebound here into the upper 60s, I think, by the end of the week. And you know, you can get back to a dry dropper game and in the heat of the day, you know, between 7 and 4, so to speak, dry dropper. But, you know, I think we're certainly in that neighborhood of double nymph rigs, get the flies down to the bottom, especially when you have these large pressure changes. You know, that, you know, tropical system comes through and the pressure's, you know, incredibly low. And then on the back side of it, it just swings and goes really high pressure. So, that keeps the fish kind of laid down and can make it tough.
Yeah, speaking of, you were telling me that even our less educated trout from the hatchery are being a little snotty these days.
They are, yeah. We sort of, you know, we have to struggle through those trips where it's a little slower and we're sitting there scratching our head and just kind of, you open up the fly box, you're sitting on the rower's bench and you open the fly box, you just kind of stare at it and it's just like, well, what do I do now? So, you know, we start, you know, we found some little stuff and, we found the, split case TMD, otherwise known as a Betas out west, blueing olive nymphs, things like that are finding us some fish. So, and we found them to be suspended sometimes. And you can have these microcurrents in a deep column of water. And these fish are just going to kind of sit where they're happy, but we found them suspended on the Tuck, and they're eating the tiny stuff. So, you know, typically we're out there throwing squirmies and, you know, the junk patterns. I don't think I've landed a fish with a client this October yet on a squirmy. It's been all natural stuff, and it's been very odd. And I don't know if it's the weather systems or the maintenance that Duke Energy is doing that's triggering that, or maybe the remote learning at the hatchery for the fish has just really triggered some native senses. But it's been kind of fun at the same time to have to figure that out.
Yeah, it's like you have Soho on the Tuck, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Well, we've got a question, Dale, from Dan, and Dan has a question. You know, he understands that, you know, most of the wild trout streams are steep gradient streams. And, you know, obviously with all the water you've got, and he kind of wonders what happens when the heavy rains come. Does it push the fish downstream, and does it push them, you know, downstream far enough to have an impact on the populations?
Oh, man, that's a great question. And thanks for submitting that. It does kind of vary from stream to stream what's going on. And it even matters what time of year. So for instance, right now we're moving into a winter pattern, where the trees go dormant. So the roots are no longer sucking water out of the system. So the water's going to come up on some of these creeks, and it's going to stay up for a little longer than it typically would in the summer. If we can get a summer thunderstorm, dump 2 inches in a spot, that water comes up and it goes right back down. So the fish, a lot of times, if they can, they're going to find those bank eddies, and they're going to hold in the bank eddies and just kind of go to the edges. If there's a big boulder in the middle of the creek, they'll sit right behind that, but they're really going to hunker down and just kind of wait it out as long as they can. For example, we had that storm come through last week. Zeta dumped 5 inches. We gave it a day and a half, and I went and looked at the upper Nantahala, and it was completely fishable. There's those instances. So, you're right to think to maybe go higher elevation to start, because that's going to drain quicker. What we also find, particularly in really healthy streams with native brook trout feeders coming down in it, you'll catch, there are a lot of the national park streams are great to catch native brook trout right beside brown trout and rainbows. So you can get a legit wild Smoky Mountain Grand Slam after these big rains. And then, those brookies will start, instinctively moving back up to, their haunts, or they'll just get chowed down by the big browns. But I don't think it's necessarily a mortality thing. You can certainly, we've caught fish after big rain events that it looks like the scales are just stripped from them. And it's really odd looking. But I imagine that's just where the sediment and silt is just like sandblasting their skin. So if they can't find those bank eddies and those places to go hide, then yeah, they can certainly disappear. But I think they just move downstream until they find those areas. I don't think they necessarily go belly up or sink to the bottom, but they find a way.
Yeah, and it's always interesting too. I mean, they don't need much of a depression to get out of the main push of the current either.
That's right. I mean, what we see on the surface is exponentially faster than the water on the bottom of the river because of friction. So all the boulders, all the rocks, any structure is going to create a little microcurrent. And, you think about, when we're on the highway driving behind a tractor trailer, you duck your car to pass that tractor trailer, you can hear that wind really hit your car, and you duck back in, and you're sort of protected there when you're right up on that tractor trailer. Maybe that's giving away some bad driving habits that I tailgate tractor trailers. I don't know, but that's kind of some ways I relate to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And folks, we love questions on the articulate fly. You can email them to us, or you can send them to us on our Facebook or Instagram page. If we read your question, I'll send you some articulate fly swag, and you're going to get entered into something cool from the shop and a drawing at the end of the season. And Dale, before I let you hop, why don't you let people know your good fishy hours and your locations and all that kind of good stuff?
Absolutely. So we're going to be running 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday through the end of November. And we're located 530 West Main Street in downtown Silva, and 3 Depot Street in downtown Bryson City, right across from the train depot with the Great Smoky Mountain Railroad. And, of course, we're always open at tuckflyshop.com.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, folks, and I've been saying this a lot. You need to get out and fish, because when it's January and February and you're sitting at home wishing you'd fished more, you'll be like you should have gone fishing in November. So get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Dale.
You too, Marvin.